Hello, we'll be discussing some of the most important questions from economics. The seven such topics that we're discussing today are goods and services tax, the PLI scheme, compensation cess, revamped distribution sector scheme pertaining to Discoms, then geographical indication, Matasya Setu App, and the eight core industries. So these are the important seven that we'll be looking into. Let's get started. The first one that we have before us is the goods and services tax or the GST. Now, the goods and services tax regime has recently completed 4 years. It was launched with an ambition expectation that it will lead to, and what was the aim or the purpose of this? That it would lead to an increase in the GDP by 1 to 2 percentage points, right? This was the aim or the purpose behind it. Now, it was expected that GST will widen the tax base and revenue collections would grow based on the inbuilt efficiency of a fully technological infrastructure. However, these goals are yet to be achieved to their desired results. Moreover, it has also seen or it has also been witnessed that it has fallen short of the expectations that it will be simple, that it will be transparent, and it will be a self-policing tax regime. So these are the important points that you need to understand, that not only has it been able to fulfill this, but these are also some of the pertinent issues that are still happening. Now, over the past 4 years, since we are celebrating this, over the past 4 years, gross monthly GST collections have largely stabilized around the same level of 1 lakh crore mark. Gross GST collections, which include the share of states as well, please understand, grew only by 3.8% in the year 2019 and 20 over the fiscal year before declining by 6.9% in 2020 and 21. Now, looking at all of these factors, another thing that becomes extremely important for you to understand is that the 15th Finance Commission, let me write it here, the 15th Finance Commission has highlighted some of the challenges with the implementation of the GST. Now, these challenges are very important, and this was headed by N.K. Singh. So remember this bit for the exams purpose. Now, what are the issues that have been highlighted by the 15th Finance Commission? It says that large shortfall in collection as compared to the original forecast. So there is a shortfall in collections. Then it has said that high volatility in collections. So high volatility in collections. Then accumulation of large integrated GST credit, glitches in invoice and input tax matching. So there are glitches in invoice and input tax matching. Then you can also add in the points, for instance, delay in funds. So these are some of the important issues that have been highlighted by the 15th Finance Commission. Now, all of this is extremely important, but along with this, there's another thing that you need to understand pertaining to this. We're repeating it again and again that we're saying there is a, there's a reason for low tax collection, that we are saying here shortfall in collection, and we are saying that it is yet to perform for the entire purpose that it was brought in, that there will be an increase in the GDP by 1 to 2 percentage points. What are the reasons behind this? What are the reasons for low tax collections? So this is very important. Let's quickly understand. You see, many small businesses are still unable to comply with the increase in the procedural requirements, while others are electing to come under the GST regime. So many small businesses are, we can say, still unable to comply with the increase in the procedural requirements, and many are still reluctant. Then you can understand that stakeholders from the industry still ask for further simplification of the GST structure. That, it, like we said here, if you look at here, we said one of the purposes of it was also that it will be simple, transparent, and self-policing tax regime. Now, this factor is not standing up to the mark, because there are a lot of issues that many business people are still finding with the GST structure, and they've been asked for simplification in this structure, and they've asked for especially the small and mid level taxpayers. Then there is a slowdown in the economy that you all understand. This was during the pandemic, and this has further worsened the compliance records. And also understand the fourth very important point, which is inability of tax administration to expand the number of taxpayers under the indirect tax. So expand the number of taxpayers. This is something which is yet to be done. This is an inability of the tax administration. So these are the important points that you need to remember pertaining to why there are low tax collections. So this is all about the first topic. Please remember all these bits that we have discussed. Then the second is the PLI scheme. Now, the PLI scheme is also very important. Firstly, what do we mean by PLI scheme? PLI scheme is simply production linked incentive. So you must remember the full form. It is production linked incentive. Now, this scheme was approved last year for various sectors, and this is struggling. This is struggling across most sectors. So this is the point that you need to remember, but you must also know a little bit about the PLI scheme. You see, PLI scheme's aim was to boost domestic manufacturing and reduce imports. These are very important points. You can get this in the statement questions. So the purpose here was to boost the domestic manufacturing and to reduce imports. This was to be done by providing incentives on incremental sales from products manufactured within the country. Now the incentives will be available for over a period of 5 years. Along with inviting foreign companies in India, the scheme aims to encourage local companies to set up or expand the existing manufacturing unit. So you can understand that this is the basic point that you need to understand, and after this you can form various others points from within this. For instance, like I'm saying that foreign countries would also be invited. The scheme also encouraged for local companies to set up, to expand the existing manufacturing units. Okay, then it was launched. When was it launched? It was launched in the year 2020 in the month of April for large scale electronic manufacturing sector, but later towards the end of the 2020 it was introduced for other 10 sectors as well. So this scheme was introduced in line with very important, that is India's Atmanirbhar Bharat campaign. Now, what are these 10 sectors that we're talking about that were brought in under this PLI scheme? Now, these are very important. Please understand that can definitely come in the exam. This deals with food processing, telecom, electronics, textiles, specialty, steel, then automobiles, auto components, then solar, photovoltaic modules, and white goods. Now, what very importantly, you can get a question on white goods itself. Now, what exactly are white goods and what do we mean by this term white goods? So, you see, I'll give you some of the very simple examples. For instance, air conditioners, okay, LEDs. These are all to be included under the white goods. So you can add microwave, all of these, or fridge, refrigerator in the house. All of these come under white goods. So please understand that these are the important 10 sectors that deal with the PLI. Okay. Now, this is all that you need to know, but what are the issues? Because we started with saying what? That this is not performing as well as it should have. This is, we use the word here, struggling. Now, what are the reasons that it is struggling? Let's look into that. So you see, what are the issues or the reasons it is struggling is because there is low interest in PLI schemes. Okay. For instance, the textile sector, the government is now considering adding more products in the list of eligible products to attract applicants. Okay, so there is low interest in the PLI schemes. Then in the medical devices sector, the issue is that it is one of the challenges pertaining to the medical device sector that there are not as many domestic manufacturers in the country. You see, we are not manufacturing enough in our own country. So the domestic manufacturers do not want to invest, as of course there are low tariff imports, that is low tariff, sorry, that is import duties that make it more convenient to rely on importing these devices from abroad. Okay. Then another important point is that companies that are dealing with specialty steel sector, they're also not keen on applying as they feel that the period of 5 years is too less for them to set up a new unit and start production. So this is an issue. So now I've discussed with you an issue pertaining to the tenure of it and the reasons why it is not working as well as it was fathomed that it would. You can use the classic example of medical devices sector, and then this low interest in PLI scheme is something which would work for all the 10 sectors that we have discussed. So these are the important things pertaining to the PLI scheme. Please remember them. Now the next concept that we have is the compensation cess. So you see the central government has recently borrowed from market 75,000 crores. Okay, it has borrowed from the market and gave the 75,000 crores to who? To the states. Why did it give it to the states? Because for the states to make up for the shortfall in their revenue because of the GST implementation. So you can always add this point with the first point where we discuss the GST implementation, the reasons for shortfall in collection at this point. So first and three are essentially talking about the same concept, GST, but we're taking a different view here. Now, this was raised through market borrowing, which was made by the center. These funds were passed on as back-to-back loans to states. The amount released to states in addition to the normal GST compensation that is paid how? Bi-monthly. It is paid bi-monthly to states by who? To the by the center, sorry. This is how this is dealing with the normal GST compensation. So if the question is on normal GST compensation, please understand it is done bi-monthly to the states by the center, right? Now, the economic slowdown has pushed both GST and cess collections down over the year, resulting in 40% gap last year between the compensation paid and the cess collected. Is this clear? Now, we need to understand a little bit about compensation cess as well. You see, compensation cess was introduced to compensate who? To compensate the states. To compensate the states for the loss in their revenue due to the implementation of the GST regime, right? So the GST Compensation to States Act, please remember there is an act behind it. GST Compensation to States Act. This act, very important, guarantees that all states an annual growth rate of 14% in their GST revenue in the first 5 years of implementation of the GST beginning in what year? Beginning in the 2017 July. If a state's revenue grows slower than 14%, what if it's not 14% and it's slower than 14%? Then it is supposed to be compensated by who? It is supposed to be compensated by the center using the funds collected as compensation cess. So is this point clear? These are the important things that you need to understand. Now, the next concept that we have to discuss is the revamped distribution sector scheme, Discoms. Now, very important, the Union Cabinet has recently approved reforms linked. Let me first just write it down. This is BSD. What does this mean? This is reform linked result based scheme for distribution. This scheme, let me just write it here. This is RLRBSD. Okay, reform linked result based distribution scheme for distribution. Okay, now this scheme seeks to improve the operational efficiencies and financial sustainability for all discoms. Okay, excluding the private sector discom. Very importantly, excluding what? Excluding private sector discoms. It will do so by providing result-linked financial assistance to discoms for strengthening supply infrastructure. Now, northeastern states of, for instance, Sikkim and union territories like Jammu and Kashmir, Ladakh, and other states. So from northeast we have Sikkim and other states, for instance Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, then union territories like Andaman and Nicobar, Lakshadweep. They will be treated as what? They will be treated as special category states. Okay, so this is the important bit, but since we're discussing about discoms, which is a very important concept, let's understand a little bit about the discoms as well. So Discoms are what? Discoms is basically the Indian power sector value chain can be broadly segmented into what? Generation, into transmission, and into distribution sector. The distribution sector consists of power distribution companies. So power distribution companies are called discoms. Now what are they responsible for? They're responsible for supply and distribution of energy to consumers. Now who could be the consumers here? It could be the industry, it could be commercial, it could be agriculture, and it could be domestic. So simply just understand that it is power distribution companies. Okay. Now, power distribution companies collect payments from consumers against the energy supplies to provide necessary cash flow to generation and transmission sectors to operate. So they take in money from the people they supply energy to, and then it goes to the generation and the transmission sectors. However, this sector is the weakest thing in terms of financial and operation sustainability. So please remember this point, that this sector, that is the distribution sector, is the weakest link in terms of financial and operation sustainability. So these are the important points. Let's now get to the next concept, which is geographical indication. You see, geographical indication is a very important concept, and especially because geographical indication has certified Bhalia variety of wheat. So this becomes very important. You're going to remember Bhalia variety of wheat. Let's understand a little about it. So you see, Bhalia variety of wheat was exported to Kenya and Sri Lanka. But where exactly is this found? This is found in the state of Gujarat. Bhalia variety of wheat is well known because of its high protein content, and at the same time it is also sweet in taste. So remember these points. It received the geographical indication in the year 2011. This crop, that is Bhalia variety of wheat, this crop is mostly found or grown around the Bhal region. Bhal region is in Gujarat, and it also includes Ahmedabad, Anand, Kheda, Bhavnagar, Surendranagar, and Bharuch districts. Its unique characteristic is that it is grown in very important rain-fed conditions without irrigation. Very important. Please don't forget this. The area, okay, and where this is sown, when it got the geographical indication, what is it famous for, and these points are very important. Okay, now this is what was in the news, but you also have to understand a little bit about geographical indication. So let's discuss. You see, the World Intellectual Property Organization defines the GI, that is geographical indication, as a sign that can be used on products that have a specific geographical origin and possesses qualities or a reputation that are due to that origin. Okay, so the focus here is on the origin. GIs are typically used for agricultural products. Okay, agricultural products, they are used for, let's say, foodstuffs, handicrafts, industrial products, wine and spirits, that is drinks basically. Some of the other examples of GI products in India are Kullu shawl, Mysore agarbatti, watches, Darjeeling tea, etc. So getting a GI tag can provide a better market for the products and also helps to prevent misuse of product names. a GI registration is given to an area. Okay, very important. It is given to an area. It is not given to a trader. But once a product gets the registration, traders that are dealing in that product can apply for selling it with the GI logo. Authorized traders are also given a unique GI number. So please understand this. The focus is here on the area, the origin of that product. So these are the important points pertaining to GI, that is geographical indication. The next one that we have is the Matasya Setu app. Let's quickly learn about this. Recently, the Ministry of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying has launched the online course mobile app that is called the Matasya Setu app. This app was developed by ICAR, that is Central Institute of Freshwater Aquaculture, with the funding support of the National Fisheries Development Board. Okay, so remember these names, very important. CIFA is Central Institute of Freshwater Aquaculture. Now, this online course app aims to share the latest freshwater aquaculture technologies to the aqua farmers of the country. On the app, renowned aquaculture experts explain the basic concepts and practical demonstration on breeding, seed production, and grow out culture of commercially important fishes like carp, catfish, scampi, murrel, etc. Also, it discusses about pearl farming. So, learning advanced technologies will influence the adoption of scientific methods in fish farming, and that will basically enhance what? It will basically enhance productivity. And at the same time, if it's enhancing productivity, you can obviously link this with the fact that this will also boost incomes of the farmers. All right. So these are the important points pertaining to Matasya Setu. What's imperative is that you remember the name of the ministry concerned. Now, the last concept that we have to discuss is the 8 core industries. Okay. So what are the 8 core industries? Why are they important? Let's understand. And there's also an index pertaining to these. So first, let's talk about the index. The index of 8 core industries is called ICI. ICI gives an indication of the performance on the basis of production. So production performance of these industries with a core unit with a core of nature. These industries have a major impact on Indian economy and significantly affect most of the other industries as well. So these 8 are extremely important. Okay. Now, the thing that you have to understand pertaining to this is that ICI basically, this index measures combined and individual performance of the production of the 8 core industries. Let's quickly understand what these 8 are. So this is coal, crude oil, natural gas, refinery products, fertilizers, steel, cement, and electricity. Okay, the 8 core industries comprise 40.27% of the weight of items included in the index of industrial production, that is IIP. Okay, the base year of ICI is very important. It is 2011 and 2012. It is prepared every month and it is released by who? This is also very important. This is released by the Office of Economic Advisor, DPIIT. Okay, so these are the important points you need to remember pertaining to what exactly the 8 core industries are and what is their index dealing with. So this is it from today's video. Thank you for watching and I hope this was informative.